of experience. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer science and a master's degree in information security. Throughout his career, Surya has demonstrated proficiency in cybersecurity leadership, team management, secure SDLC implementation, governance, and architecture. Currently associated with the finance sector since 2007, he leads the multiple security teams and driving global security operations and advocating for SDL since shift left as a part of DevSecOps initiatives. Surya is passionate about continuous improvement in security practice and is committed to enhance the digital product strategy and application development with the industry. Uh, we have such an eminent personality and expert person among us. I request all the participants welcome with Surya Prakash with a big round of applause. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, sir.
Let me share my screen. First of all, good morning, everybody. Are you able to see my screen?
No, sir, please share the screen. Both, sir, please give the.
I'm already given, sir. I'm already given.
So okay.
Hello? Bana.
Yes, sir. Now it's audible, your screen, sir. I mean, your voice is audible and your screen is visible, sir.
Okay. All right. First of all, thank you for providing this opportunity. As Peter explained, I've been in the IT industry for more than 80 years, and I've been into blended experience with enterprise application development and also into cybersecurity. So today, I wanted to share this knowledge that I have gained as part of my industry experience with you all, and have a meaningful debate on some of these, the industry emerging challenges that we have. So, the today's topic is about open source software supply chain issues and the best practices that typically the organization has to follow to prevent those issues. Over the past few years, we have seen increased reliance on the open source software since the advent of the Unix and also other programming languages. So, but recently we landed up with so many open source related issues as more and more hackers have been propagating into the developer space. So we'll be going into the details on that as part of it, and feel free to stop me if you have any questions as I progress on the slides. I just want to start with a disclaimer. I'm representing myself as my personal views, and these are not anyways related to my company. And the information that I'm sharing in this screen is publicly available. And most of the slides I have included the references. But if you need any references as part of after this presentation, feel free to reach out to me. Yes. As we discussed, we wanted to focus on why software supply chain is important, and why should we have some sort of compliance controls around that, and why supply chain security is becoming a major challenge for organizations to combat with. As the developers rely on the open source, it's becoming a tough job to maintain the integrity and security of the supply chain. As developers just download the software to get the job done. Due to that, we have seen very high breaches where some of the organizations have been shut down because of the the ransomware type of attacks, and also some of them they're not able to recover from the breaches as well. So let's start with the definition. So as we define, open source software is something, as a developer, anybody can write some piece of code and make that as a reusable component, and then they can keep that component available in the public repositories for other developers to consume. So that itself, once the developer packages that as a library for someone to consume, that itself is called a component. So it's more practically defined as open source component. And the developers, who wants to rely on the component, they typically downloads it from the package repositories and then use it in their project to speed up their development activities. So since we don't know who is the author of the package, it's important to ensure the integrity and security of those components as well. So some of the attacks that we have seen recently is the SolarWinds, which happened in 2021, where one of the national state actor has compromised the Orient software within the SolarWinds software. And then that is a core package. SolarWinds is a suite of applications, and Orient software is being used in most of the SolarWinds applications. So the national state actor has compromised that package, introduced a malicious code, and the organizations, the government agencies who are using the SolarWinds are all affected with that malware injection. Even though it's not open source, it's closely maintained software. It is developed in even though it's closed software, it's been affected by the supply chain issues. And the second one is the left pad instance. So the left pad incident happened a while back. So the left pad instance is one of the library. It's having a piece of like 10 lines of code, but that is being used in so many projects. And the other has decided to take out the package from the public repository. As the author has took down the package, all the projects dependent on that library has failed their builds, and they're not able to go to the production, and some of the production applications have been failed. And also there are recent vulnerabilities which are popular, like in terms of Log4j. Log4j is a logging library that is used by most of the Java developers, and there was a log4 shell where someone can invoke a remote command shell if the application is using Log4j. OpenSSL also is a prominent library. It's being used in Unix and other Java and .NET libraries. That one is also vulnerable for some of the issues such as Heartbleed. And the other type of attacks that we have seen recently is typo squatting. So as part of the typo squatting, the developers, the author replicate some of the prominent URLs, such as let's say google.com to google.com or google.in or something like that. Or like if they change the library name from log4j to log4j2 or something like that. So whenever developers try to download some package, they typically make typing mistakes, right? So as part of that, the developer may be tricked into downloading a malicious library. And the other type of attack that we have seen is malicious code injection. So the author of the package or the maintainers of the package, they introduce malicious code to support some of the organizations or some of the countries as well. So in this case, typically the open source project have multiple maintainers, authors for which we don't know the source of the identity of the person or the source of the the code changes. In those cases, it's very difficult to trace any malicious code injections if that code is being gone into the production without verifying without doing the proper code reviews. So some of the motives include financial gain. Obviously, they try to steal some bitcoins of the AWS keys as part of it. Also, they try to sabotage or disrupt by deleting the files once the library is installed. And also they display error messages on the screen website to damage the the company brand, or to support the cyber warfare or the current ongoing wars between the two different countries. So I have included two examples here. One is event source polyfill and peace not war. There are again different types of protest tweet messages. One is repo banner. In this repo banner, this is the least impacted attack type, where the author displays the protest message within the README file. So it doesn't have any impact. It just like kind of socialize what is the thought process about it. And the second one is when the package is being installed, they also display the same protestware message within the application log files. And the other one would be out of environment protest logs. They will write the files into the desktop with some protest information. And the highest impact one is the destructive protests, where they override the files and disks based on some information. So this is one of the example where the event source polyfill is one of the famous library to use graphics within the JavaScript. So in this case, as we are all aware about Ukraine and Russia war, the message indicates that supporting Ukraine and stop indicating other users to support their petition, which is by opening the message, by displaying an alert message for the customers, and also opening a window with the corresponding message to support Ukraine. And the next case study that we have seen is Fight Oiler. So this is the recent attack that we have seen. This attack came in just like 5 days back, where the attacker has introduced malicious code as part of the white space. If you look at this screenshot on the left-hand side, as you can see on the line number 17, it just says print space here. But when you expand the code, or if you do the word wrap of the code, you could see the execute function where it's trying to decode the attacker controlled code and then executes malicious code on the servers. And not only with that, the attacker also posted articles in the Stack Overflow, where most of the developers copy the code directly from Stack Overflow into their organization code. Using that weakness, attacker actually kept some code in the Stack Overflow to kind of attract more victims. I believe this is already reported by the one of the industry tool called Sonotype, and then the Stack Overflow attack of that author has been suspended till 2034. To combat with this, there is something called bill of materials. So when we purchase something from the grocery store, we typically have a label which indicates that what that product contains. Let's say when you buy a medicine, or when you buy a product like Coca-Cola or something, it indicates how much percentage of sugar it contains, how much percentage of water and it contains, carbon, and how many calories it has, right? So, but when it comes to the software product, there is no labeling as such. There is no standardized labels. To combat with that, this concept has come in, which indicates that software bill of materials. The SBOM is detailed inventory of the components that which indicates, okay, this software product is made of these software components, and that component is made of these components, right? So they have a nested list of all the components that overall makes up the software product. And why it is important? This is important for proper risk management. If you know the components, then we can have some risk definition around the components, and also we can also look at what vulnerabilities that the software has based on the component list. And also it facilitates with the regulatory requirements and standards as well, where some of the software components are prohibited for certain regions or countries. And also when the security incidents happen, we can review those as SBOM and then identify which applications are using which components as well. So considering the importance of this the supply chain security, US government has issued executive order on cybersecurity to drive the adoption of SBOMs within the industry. So the executive order aims at bringing, enhancing the national cybersecurity by defining what is software supply chain security and like how to handle software supply chain security incidents and sharing that information among the organizations as well. So impact on the business. So if someone wants to do the business with the government agencies, with the federal agencies, then the supplier of the software has to provide the bill of materials before they will be accepted as a supplier to that organization. So a lot of businesses are facing compliance challenges because most of the businesses don't know how to create the bill of materials as well. So adopting software SBOM has become a critical part to the organization's journey, and a lot of applications organizations are adopting it, but existing applications is always challenge. So the businesses who are doing working with the government agencies, they must follow this SBOM, and private sector businesses also adopting this SBOM lately. And also, regulatory some of the when we have export the software from one country to another country, there are some regulatory requirements for each country to have that kind of bill of orders as well. Once we have the SBOM, obviously we know what components we have and what security measures it can take based on the components as well. So here's an example of how SBOM looks. So SBOM can have different format. Cyclone DX and SPDX are some of the formats that are well supported by the NIST. But for the sake of our conversation, I created this SBOM in AML format. Here we have taken an example of a project called My Java project, and I was using Log4j and the Commons logging as part of this. As you can see here, it is showing the dependencies. Hey, this project is using Log4j and the version of it, and also the description of the project. And it also indicates what license model of the component as well. Additionally, sometimes the SBOM also contains vulnerabilities as well. Based on the version number, it can have several CVEs, which indicates what vulnerability. It's kind of a naming convention for a particular vulnerability. So based on this, organizations can know before buying a product. If you ask for the SBOM, the organizations can know, okay, this software that I'm buying from so and so vendor has these many vulnerabilities, and the organizations can take a stance and the policy changes. If we have these many vulnerabilities or these with high severity, they can actually reject some of the vendor products as well. So the SBOM provides very detailed dependencies and easy to track and manage the security updates as well. It is very critical material for the vulnerability assessment as well to perform audits as well. And once we have the SBOM within the organization, we can take proactive risk management by identifying which components are outdated, which components needs to be replaced across the applications. So how can we prevent these supply chain security issues? Right? One is having regular security audits, comprehensive security audits, like identify vulnerabilities, and based on that, we can plan the proactive measures to mitigate those supply chain issues. And the second one is dependency management. So organizations can adopt a more dependency managed software like JFrog Artifactory, where they can control what dependencies are allowed within the organization. Sometimes, having active community engagement within the open source also helps, because there are a lot of open source software that are like not being maintained by the other for various reasons. So sometimes organizations participate actively in the community engagement as well. And also the automated security tools. Like recently, there is a big adoption of software tools such as Black Duck, Sonar Type, Sonar Cube, Seek are some of the examples of the tools. They're already evolving in this phase, Lately, they were identifying only the vulnerabilities. Now these tools are also adapting to the supply chain issues related to typo spatting and malware detections as well. So here is a example, indirect example flow that I prepared. So let's take a flow of the DevSecOps practices. So if the organization have started adopting DevSecOps practices, most of the controls have been codified within the pipeline, and the pipeline codified controls helps the organizations to prevent these supply chain issues if they follow these DevSecOps practices. First of all, in the traditional method, the developer fetches the library directly from the public repository. That means they go on, let's say if the developer is using Java as part of their project, they directly go to the mavenrepository.com and downloads the packages. So this is a very old way of implementing a code. So this should be avoided within the organization. Since if they directly approach the public repositories, we will not have any control on what they download and how they download and from which source they are downloading. All that control mechanisms will not be taken care. So as part of this DevSecOps, what we suggest is organizations should come up with a open source policy. The policy should define they have the definition. Okay, we accept this type of licenses within the organization, and we accept software library which has risk levels of level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 like that. And they can also define the policy. They should not be using end of life, end of support as well. So the developer requests the package manager, and the package manager will go into that open source repository to do these scans and checks, and also to check the integrity of the package that's being downloaded as well. So in order to do that, they have to rely on external tools such as Sonatype or Sneak and Black Duck, and they continuously scan that and monitor that as well. So once that library is accepted within the organization policy and by the tool, they store that information within the application inventory. So the inventory contains of the applications and then the number of the open source components that application is being used. So this is the SBOM inventory that we are referring to, right? And also, sometimes the developer bypass these controls by downloading it and keeping it within the repository. So having the pipeline controls such as source code and open source library details are stored in the repository, the pipeline should reject those kind of builds. Ensure the code doesn't have direct downloads, and it always fetches from the centralized repository. And based on that, the pipeline can take a decision whether to pass or fail the build as well. Obviously, as part of the development, they can also have internal packages. As part of the internal packages, the organization has to define the namespace for the internal packages, because there will be conflicting names between the internal versus the public libraries as well. With that, as we have seen, planning and monitoring is key. Maintaining a secure supply chain requires a policy and continuous vigilance and proactive risk management. And a commitment needs to be done to kind of prevent those, to prevent and address these issues as the issues are identified as part of the pipeline. And a collaborative approach has to be done. The open source issues, once they have been adopted within the application, it's very difficult to remediate those issues. So businesses, the CIOs, and the CISO departments have to collaborate and have some sort of commitment to meet the regulatory requirements as well. So safeguarding the future, the library may be not malicious or may not be vulnerable today, but tomorrow it could be vulnerable by some other can introduce something within the nightly build, and then it can disrupt the entire flow, right? So what packages, what versions of the package we download also needs to be defined. Needs to go through the software process as well, which helps us to kind of keep the reputation and the branding of the organizations, and also prevent software supply chain issues. With that, I conclude my session. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I request the participants who have any queries, please ask the expert.
Morning, sir.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, sir. So, actually, my research area is different, but this is somewhat interesting, actually. So, can you give some real-time applications where we can go with this supply chain management and all? That would be like doing as a BTech projects, etc. As initial work to start upon.
So if I understand your question, like you wanted to create a project to demonstrate these supply chain issues?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And the application, the area where we can go and explore the application of this usage.
Sure. So there are several open source projects, and I will ping those links in the chat as well. So for example, we have this WebGo project, which is developed by IAASSE. So that is developed in Java. If you're looking for a Java-based project, that would be a good project to start with. And it also has several open source libraries. So you can leverage the open source scanning tools to identify those issues as well. I'll ping those links within the chat.
Okay. So, share the links so we can have some exposure on the existing things in this particular area.
Sure.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Still any participants? Well, which signals the end of the session. Now, I would like to propose a formal voter thanks to Mr. Surya Prakash Nalluri, sir. And thanks for delivering an insightful presentation on the supply chain issues and best practices. So your discussion on the importance of SBM and the US Executive Order on cybersecurity and the recent emerging technologies and Java and Node.js vulnerabilities are particularly enlightening. So we appreciate your practical advice on security audits, dependency management, and automated tools to enhance supply chain security. So your expertise has greatly enriched our understanding of these critical issues. And thanks for sharing your insightful and experience during this session. And thanks for clarifying the doubt during the participants' questionnaire session also, sir. Thanks for valuable information and the time you spent and share your knowledge to this research fraternity, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yep, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and it's all nice meeting
True,
you
sir.
all.
It's my pleasure, sir.
Have a good day to everyone.
And thank you, sir. Have a good day, sir. Dear participants, thank you for your support. The next session will be available on sharp 12 o'clock. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, Prakash sir, please close the session, please.